Hello again, guys. This will be the weekly football roundup. Obviously, going to do another episode this week so we can push on and move on from the Euros. Obviously, a great deal of disappointment. Oh well, what's happened has happened. Can move on. We can get excited about the upcoming football season, and that means at the moment it's transfers, it's transfer rumours. Every team's linked with someone. So what I've done this week is I've gone through every team in the Premier League. I've made an active effort to find a rumour. I think some teams obviously linked with a lot of players, some teams not so many, some teams obviously done quite a bit of business, it makes it difficult. So I'm not going to be able to simply grade them in the multiple tiers. So what I'm going to do is simply give it a yay or an A. Cool, easy enough to understand. I think there's grading, sort of there's grey areas. I'm looking at what I believe some of those teams need as to what they're linked to, the player they're linked with, as well as the potential fee, whether that's sort of worthwhile for the team itself. Now, I'm going to start alphabetically, starting with Arsenal, ending with Wolves. Okie dokie. So, first team obviously being Arsenal. The main rumour they've been linked with is Calafiori from Bologna, who seemed to have a bit of a breakout tournament, seemed to be recognised quite a lot from his sort of time in Italy, sort of Campania, and they seem to miss him in the game against Switzerland quite a bit, where he sort of went out. But obviously having done such a good season for Bologna, helping them get Champions League football, he's someone who's quite young, his stock is on the rise, and so lots of teams have been sniffing around him. I know that Chelsea have as well, but I think the rumours linking him to Arsenal are a lot stronger. It looks like this is the more likely destination if he's going to move. So the rumoured fee is about 45 million. Arsenal, I believe, have made the David Raya deal permanent, sort of as the main sort of business at the moment. Now, in my honest opinion, unless Arsenal are shifting players to bring him in, I think this is a nay from me. I firmly believe that Arsenal have quite a few defenders, and they've got Jurrien Timber to come back as well, who can sort of play similar positions to Calafiori, playing sort of left back, centre back, left centre back, sort of covering that space. And he's almost going to come back as a new signing, as it were, unless you are looking at potentially moving on players, which Arsenal have been linked with rumours sort of linking Kivior away and Zinchenko away. Then maybe I understand the point, but whilst they're there at the club, I think they're able squad players, and so for that reason it's a bit of a nay. Next we go to Aston Villa, who have been splashing the cash left, right and centre, sort of bringing in people like Amadou Onana, re-signing Philogene, quite annoyingly. So the rumour I found for 45 to 50 million is Rafinha. Now, I'm a little bit unsure of this. I sort of get that they want to bolster the squad for a Champions League run, so I suppose you're looking at playing those extra games. I'm very undecided on whether Villa desperately need a winger if they've just sort of signed other ones recently. Like, you've already brought in, I suppose there's the idea potentially of Moussa Diaby going out, which might make this deal work better, depending obviously on the fees. But you've got Leon Bailey, you've got Morgan Rogers, you've signed Philogene again, who is a winger. I think I'm going to put this as a yay, because I think the 45 to 50 for someone of Rafinha's quality is a very good deal. I'm not necessarily 100% sure it's their most urgent position needed, but it's adding a lot of quality there, and the depth of that Villa squad might become an issue further on in the season with the European games as well. And I think he himself has been made a bit of a scapegoat of Barcelona. I believe every single time he's going on the pitch for Barcelona, he's done well, and yet somehow he's not necessarily favoured by the coaching staff. So I don't quite sort of get that when you're looking at sort of numbers for goals and assists. He's someone that contributes a lot more than others within their squad, and yet is sort of looked down upon for whatever reason. So I think this is a strong move for Villa, so definite yay from me. Now, Bournemouth were one of the hardest teams to find. It's probably the last team I actually managed to find a player for, having listened to a few other podcasts and, well, a few other sources to get inspiration. So they've been linked with Jake Clark-Salter, who's a QPR centre-back, like formerly of Chelsea. They are, the rumours sort of looking between like 5 to 10 million, I believe, potentially more. Obviously, this is, that's the rumours I've got from one source. There's not enough sort of things got clarifying it. He is sort of 26, so heading towards the prime of his career, sort of experience, having gone out on loan to several other championship teams before. This would look likely be a replacement to losing Lloyd Kelly on a free to Newcastle. So it makes sense. People that play in the Championship, generally speaking, it's a good proving ground to go into the Premier League, particularly for a lower level Premier League team. So I think this could do Bournemouth very well. So I think this is particularly for a low fee as well. So I think this is a definite yay from me. Moving on to Brentford. You have Alfie Doherty, played for Luton, the fullback. It's the rumour of about 10 million. He's contributed a couple of goals and several assists from fullback. Now I think, and he's sort of a good age of being 26. I think this is an interesting signing. It's not a lot of money. It sounds like shrewd business to me. This is a yay. So the next one is Brighton. Brighton, I'm going to apologise for the naming of some of the players that they've been linked with. Is it Baris Alper Yilmaz from Galatasaray for 20 million? So he's a right winger. It sounds like a very Brighton signing. Their scouting network always seems to travel very far, and they seem to pick up niche players. And it's this one sort of team scouting network you usually trust to just find a gem from somewhere. It's Brighton's. 20 million is a decent amount of change, but I back Brighton to make it work. So this is a yay from me. Moving on to Chelsea. So we've got Desiree Doué, who is a 19-year-old French midfielder. Sort of playing in Ligue 1. He's been linked for the move for 30 million. Young and exciting, but I don't quite get the move, personally. I think Chelsea have signed several midfielders, and so I don't quite see the need to sort of sign another one in a position that they've got a lot of cover for currently. So, as well as sort of the fee, and this is a team that should be very mindful of PSR right now. So a large fee for a player that's not had long enough time proving himself, potentially. I think if he had one or two more seasons in Ligue 1 and sort of had some very strong numbers to back that up, either defensively or sort of going forward, then yes, but I don't see it, so that's a definite nay from me. Crystal Palace next. Marcus Edwards from Sporting Lisbon, sort of the Englishman who used to play for Tottenham Hotspur. He's been linked to the move there for 15 million as a likely Michael Elise replacement. He's got a lot of experience in Liga NOS. Players from there usually transfer over very well to the Premier League. It's not a ridiculous fee. Obviously knows the language being English. It's a good fee as far as I'm concerned. They banked money on Elise. It's smart business as far as I'm concerned. Next we've got Everton. Everton have managed to actually spend money and buy players, bringing in Ndiaye from Marseille, who obviously did very well for Sheffield United in the season previously, who I think could be a bit of fun. But the player they're linked with at the moment that I found is Calvin Phillips on loan. Now, I sort of feel a bit sorry for Calvin Phillips because he is someone that a few years ago looked very he just looked an incredible sort of midfielder, and he moves to City and doesn't play the Pep Guardiola structure or system, and so falls down the pecking order, doesn't play a lot, gets shunned a lot, and so then he needs a bit of an arm around his shoulder, and it's, in my opinion, it's a yay. If it's a loan move, Everton being mindful of their money, I think he is someone that's very good on the ball, is very good off the ball, and I think Sean Dyche can really get something out of a player like him. Next player is Andre, the central midfielder from Fluminense, the Brazilian, of course. Linked with Fulham for 25 million. This is likely a João Palhinha replacement. They're eyeing it up. This is potentially moving to Bayern Munich. Obviously, nothing's been confirmed yet, but they are preparing. This is a player that I've seen several YouTubers link to several different teams before on how to fix videos, including links to trying to link them with Liverpool and Man United. This seems like a fairly sensible move. I believe he's a bit of a jack of all trades, as it were, in the fact that he's not necessarily all lights out defensive, all lights out attacking. You sort of get a nice blend sort of style of play with him. He's sort of not too young, so you'd like to think that there's not going to be sort of the ups and downs in consistency with his performances, having played sort of in the Brazilian leagues for several years now. So, and I think the going rate fees wise for 25 million for a solid Premier League midfielder sort of sounds about right for me. I believe this is a yay from me. Now, over to my team, Ipswich. Thankfully, they've done quite a lot of business. So actually trying to find a good, solid, fun rumour was quite difficult. There's one that I have found, which I'm not overly fond of, linking us to Armando Broja from Chelsea. Now, I'm very undecided on him, because I think there's a player there when he had his sort of spells at Southampton, but he looked rather naff at Fulham and doesn't seem to be playing regularly. Chelsea, obviously, a team that need to sell to balance out their books, but the rumoured fee of 50 million is stupid as far as I'm concerned. I don't think Ipswich having signed a striker, maybe they're looking at getting another one. Ideally, I believe they're having signed one, need one to be looking more in the midfield area. That fee, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. I don't like it. That's a no from me. That's a nay. And Leicester was a bit of a struggle as well. I've been unable to find a fee for said player, but the rumours are of Oliver Skipp from Spurs. He's obviously struggled to get into the Spurs team, but does carry a lot of Premier League experience. Spurs linked with a lot of players throughout the summer. There's looked like they always want to do a lot of change. They might be sort of tempted to keep hold of him in order to make sure they have a sort of right quota for British players should sort of they get near Europe, I suppose. But I think this is a player that sort of got a bit of Premier experience. I believe he could do a good job at a lower Prem team. He's sort of a good, sturdy, reliable player. I'm not necessarily going to go and say more than that. Obviously, so it's an undisclosed amount. Now, I'm of the belief that if you get him for 20 mil or under, I think that's a good fee. That's a yay, because they're looking for more midfielders. Obviously, there's going to be a change of system, changing from Maresca to Steve Cooper. But I believe Cooper's also will have potentially worked with someone like Skip through his time within the youth setup of England as well. So I think this is a very smart move, providing the fee's not too high. So it's definitely yay. Liverpool are linked with the French defender from RB Leipzig, Simcan, for a fee around 40 to 50 million. Now, I'm not quite sure how Liverpool are going to line up under the new manager, Arne Slot. So it's going to take a bit more research to understand what formations he himself is looking to do. Obviously, I believe they were losing Matip's obviously gone. So you've still got several centre backs, with the main pairing being like Van Dijk and Kanate. But they're looking at another one. Are you trying to sort of replace them? I'm very unsure of that one. Maybe the idea of playing a three. I mean, you've got Joel Quansah as backup, who will be looking to get more minutes. Who looks young, looks exciting, looks interesting. So the rumoured fee around 40 to 50 million for an sort of experienced Bundesliga player. I'm not sure it's what they need right now. I'm not sure. I think they need to ensure they've got the right balance in the midfield. I think this is still an issue from the previous summers, but I think the change in style of play means that there definitely needs to be a look at that. I think buying people like Endo was sort of, although he did very well, they weren't first or even second choice options, and they sort of did a job. But I think when you're changing a new system, you want a midfielder in there who understands that manager's style of play, someone who can tell the orders, give the commands. So I don't think Simikan is a strong player, so it's a nay from me. City usually get their business done quite quickly and quite well. The rumour I've got is Bruno Guimaraes for 85 million. Obviously Newcastle don't need to sell right now, be having sort of sold several of their other players for sort of decent fees to keep PSR at bay. So there were links that Guimaraes or Isak would have to leave. I myself think he is a very good player. However, I also don't think you're getting him out of Newcastle for 85 million. I think if you did, then that's amazing and that's a yay, because he fits. He's a jack of all trades. He could do any role within that midfield. He can be sort of box to box. He can sort of play a bit more defensively when you're missing people like Rodri. He can sort of do the job that the Kovacic and Matthias Nunes couldn't clearly do this season, as they sort of looked a little bit flat. So he would actually be a sign that makes a difference. The likelihood of it happening, pretty slim. However, if they got it done, amazing. Man United have actually done some good business so far as I can see it. Sort of looking at young, interesting, exciting players, having signed Joshua Zirkzee and Lenny Euro, and they're looking through their issues and finding sort of smart signings, which in recent years hasn't always been United's way. It's usually trying to sign one blockbuster player and hoping he fixes all the issues. Now the rumour is for 59 million Manuel Ugarte from PSG. I myself think this is that fee is a very good deal. I think they need reinforcements in the midfield. He is almost a lights out defensive midfielder. He could potentially be looked at as potentially replacing Casemiro, possibly playing them together depending on obviously opposition. He's a very physical presence as well, which is something that United team really, really needs. And so it's a big plus from me. That's a yes. And then the next team got Newcastle. We can't quite find a fee. However, we're looking at Noni Madueke, who plays on the right wing usually, ideally for Chelsea, who seem to finish the season quite strong. Now, I think this is the right style, the sort of player they're looking for. They need cover on the right wing. I think this is the position that they want to strengthen, because they've got good options on the left wing with Anthony Gordon. They've got a good option up front with Alexander Isak. Right wing is an area of focus, and I think if they can manage to get this deal done, providing Chelsea don't sort of demand too much money, I believe Chelsea paid around 35 million for him. So if Newcastle would sort of spend that amount of money, I think this is a yay. However, I think if you're pushed beyond that, you walk away, because that's not the smart use of money otherwise. So this is fee dependent. So this is a bit of a yay or nay. So I'll let you decide on that one. So we've got Nottingham Forest. They're linked to the free transfer of Che Adams. sort of done very well in the championship season with Southampton. Obviously wasn't given a new contract at Southampton. Potentially he was looking at a move to a Premier League team. Several have sniffed around. I know Everton also did as well. It's a free signing. It's minimal risk. I think if he can get the right service, I think he can be all right. Because he's not too much of a risk, I don't think he's going to be too much of a drain on resources. I think this is a yay. I think they need sort of other physical strikers up top. They very much need Awanihi, but they also want to have options otherwise, instead of having to potentially fall back on Chris Wood, regardless of how well he's done in the previous season. That's not something that's going to keep happening. So I think this is a yay. I think if it was a bigger fee, I'd be more sceptical, but because it's not, so it's fine. So we've got Southampton, who have done some smart business recently, signing Flynn Downs back, having had him on loan the previous season. Now, this is another player I might struggle to pronounce, I apologise. Jesuran Rakasaki, I apologise if I've said that wrong, on loan from Crystal Palace. So he's a sort of skilly, speedy, sort of tricky winger. However, Crystal Palace are sceptical over doing this loan because they want him to go to a championship team to potentially see what he can do. It's a better stomping ground for younger players, and worry about the minutes he would potentially get at Southampton. And I think I would agree. I wouldn't want to rush a youngster into a Premier League team, particularly one that's going to potentially be struggling with relegation. That can really dampen sort of your career progression. And so because of that, I think that's a nay. Got Tottenham now, almost there with the teams. They've been linked with Jonathan David, a Canadian striker from Lille, for 25 million. I think this is a really sensible decision. I think they need more options up front. I don't think they should be solely reliant on Richarlison, as I don't believe he's a reliable source of goals. Humminson obviously contributes a lot, but primarily you want to keep him out on the left wing where he does a lot of his best work. Obviously got options on the right wing, people like Kulusevski and Brennan Johnson. I think you need depth up front with Richarlison. 25 million for a player who's been consistently getting at least sort of 15 plus goals in the last 2-3 seasons. Sort of seems to be a reliable source of goals. Sort of good solid age wise. He's not over 25. If he knows English, it's a sensible, it's a safe, it's a smart move. It's a yes from me. The next one, which is a recent rumour that I've heard about today, for West Ham, was N'Golo Kante, trying to get him back from the Saudi leagues for 20 million. Him being 33 years old, I'm slightly worried about how many seasons you can seriously get out of him. I think at the Euros, you can still see that he's still got it. He's still got the legs. However, I think in a long-running Premier League season, this might be an issue. I don't necessarily... I want to say yes, because he's a player I really like, but I think this is a no. I think you're spending that much money for a player that age. How many seasons are you getting out of him? What's his wages going to be like on top of that, having earning a ridiculous amount in the Saudi leagues? It's a nay from me. I'd love to sort of see him again back in the European League, but I don't think it's the move that West Ham should be looking at. And then the final team we've got, Wolves are linked with Gustavo Hamer from Sheffield United, who was one of their brighter players last year. Linked for £15 million, a creative player, someone nice to get forward. 15 million as a going rate for a midfielder, I think is good. He's got a bit of experience in the Prem. He wants another bite at it, and I think he probably deserves a chance considering how he played in a struggling Sheffield United team. I think that's a yay from me. So let me know your thoughts on my thoughts. Let me know any other potential rumours if you want sort of my opinions on them. If there's any others you'd like me to sort of go over, as some teams are linked with a lot of players, some not so much. I've just tried my best to find an individual one for each team. So we'll potentially look at that, or we'll potentially look at maybe a how to fix, or sort of ideal signings. I'm looking at individual clubs. If you want me to highlight or focus in on a particular club for the start of the season, leave a comment and I will have a go through it. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you later.